Are you stuck at Band 6 in your IELTS writing, not sure how to improve? In this video, we're going to share practical tips that will actually help you improve your score. This will be useful for both IELTS academic and general test takers, and even for anyone who simply wants to improve their general English writing skills. Make sure you watch until the end for a bonus tip and a special announcement. Let's talk about the IELTS writing format. If you already know how it works, skip to the timestamp on the screen. Otherwise, let's get into it. You have 60 minutes in total to complete 2 tasks. While you are free to manage your time however you like, the standard recommendation is 20 minutes for task 1. Write at least 150 words. This task counts for 1/3 of your total writing score. For task 2, a maximum of 40 minutes is recommended. Write at least 250 words. This task counts for 2/3 of your score, so you want to spend most of your time on this one. In IELTS Academic, Task 1 requires you to describe visual information such as a graph, chart, table, process diagram, or map. In IELTS General, Task 1 is a letter. You may need to write a formal, semi-formal, informal letter requesting information or explaining a situation. For example, asking for a refund or requesting time off work. For Task 2, both versions require an essay. Academic topics are usually more formal, with topics ranging from climate change to healthcare, while general topics tend to focus on everyday issues like family and media. Overall, it is a tough exam with little time to write. However, with the following tips, getting a Band 7+ will be way easier. Tip number 1. Understanding the assessing criteria. Your score is based on 4 metrics. Number 1, task achievement for task 1 and task response for task 2. Number 2, coherence and cohesion. Number 3, lexical resource. Number 4, grammatical range and accuracy. If you want Band 7+, you must write strategically. For task achievement and task response, assess how fully and accurately you answer the question. Did you address all parts of the task? Is your response relevant? Did you support your ideas properly using examples? Did you meet the word requirement? Writing too little will lower your score, but writing excessively long answers is not automatically better because it may cause you to include irrelevant ideas. Coherence and cohesion measures how logically you organize your ideas. Are your paragraphs clear? Does each paragraph have one main idea? Do your ideas flow naturally? Planning your essay before writing is crucial. Spend a few minutes brainstorming and selecting your strongest ideas that you can support with good reasoning. Ask yourself, why exactly? How exactly? What is the real consequence? For example, Band 6 essays would be something like, social media causes stress. But if you want to get a Band 7+, your essay should be something like, social media can increase stress because users constantly compare their lives to carefully curated online images, which may create unrealistic expectations and feelings of inadequacy. You should also try using a variety of cohesive devices, such as linking words, pronouns, conjunctions, and avoiding repetition. For example, if you already used the word however, avoid using the word again and replace it with something like nevertheless or although. Lexical resource is about vocabulary range and accuracy. Avoid repeating the same word over and over again. For example, instead of using the word manage over and over again, try and use a word like handle, deal with, cope with, or take control of. See, there are actually so many ways to describe one concept. Grammatical range and accuracy assesses not only the range of grammar used, but also how accurately and appropriately you use it. Common issues include articles and plural forms. Even Band 7 and 8 students often repeat the same types of grammar mistakes. If you notice a pattern in your errors, study that rule carefully and fix it at the root. Tip 2, read a lot. This might sound counterintuitive, as if you want to get better at writing, the only way is to write more, right? This is partially true. You need to write to improve the skill. However, Reading provides you with the fundamental knowledge that your writing draws from. Research consistently shows that extensive reading improves vocabulary range, grammatical accuracy, and coherence and cohesion, which are all directly assessed in IELTS writing. Yes, something as simple as reading will have a massive impact on your writing, and of course, your language knowledge in general. So instead of spending too much time writing, kick back, relax, and pull out a book. You will be exposed to not only different writing styles, but also new vocabulary and grammar. If you're preparing for IELTS Academic, try reading more academic style content, such as opinion articles, research-based writing, or even IELTS reading passages. Since IELTS Academic writing often discusses education, technology, and the environment, reading about those topics will make it much easier to generate ideas in Task 2. That said, novels and informal articles are also extremely valuable. Any consistent exposure to good English helps. Here is how I would implement reading into my study schedule. First, you should decide on a routine. For example, every day after soccer practice, I will read an English novel for 30 minutes. This way, reading will become a habit, and you will feel weird if you don't do it, like when you don't brush your teeth. When it becomes automatic, you no longer rely on motivation. The book Atomic Habits explains this way better than I can, so I recommend reading that in English to get started. Link in the description below. Picking books that are within your skill range is also pretty important. If you're a Band 6 IELTS student, books aimed at younger audiences like Harry Potter will be easier to follow, which makes it not only more interesting, but easier to continue reading. The worst mistake is picking something way too hard and feeling bad about yourself. Another thing is that it's completely normal not to understand every word. Even I, as a native speaker, sometimes encounter words that I don't know, so don't feel stressed about it. You should only spend a small amount of time on looking up words and grammar. However, if you spend too much time Googling, it will ruin the flow of reading, which can make it somewhat hard for you to stick to reading consistently. Therefore, I recommend you split your reading into two parts. For the first part, you are allowed to Google any of the unknown words or grammar that you see when you're reading. This should only be 20% of your time reading. For the remaining 80% of your reading, you are not allowed to Google or look up any words or grammar, no matter what. This allows you to stay consistent and keep your flow of reading. I will put some of my favorite books in the description, so I want you guys to drop some of your favorite books in the comments down below. Tip 3. Practice timed writing. One of the biggest mistakes students make is this. They only practice writing without any time pressure. But in the real exam, you only have 60 minutes. That's it. And time pressure changes everything. When the clock is running, you think differently. You make more grammar mistakes and you struggle to organize ideas. You rush your conclusion. Many students who write Band 7 essays at home drop to a Band 6 on test day simply because they are not used to writing under pressure. Tip number 4, spelling. This might sound small, but spelling mistakes seriously lower your score. In IELTS writing, spelling is part of lexical resource and grammatical range and accuracy. That means if you consistently misspell common words, your band score drops, even if your ideas are good. So be careful. Tip number 5, be consistent. Language learning is one of the most time-consuming skills to master, and writing is one of the most difficult components of it. When I was studying Japanese, I would spend up to 8 hours a day dedicated to it. And the worst part is, not only did I feel like I wasn't getting any better, but sometimes I felt like I was getting worse. Language learning is like going to the gym. If you compare yourself day by day, you won't see any progress. In fact, you might see the opposite. However, if you compare yourself to 1, 2, or even 3 months ago, you will begin to see a massive difference. If you want a confidence booster, just look at an essay you wrote 1 year ago. This comes back to the classic saying, trust in the process. Results will catch up with you. Just keep going and don't lose hope. Tip number 6, get feedback. This may be obvious, but a lot of people don't realize that When you write or speak, not getting corrected hurts your progress tremendously. If you don't get someone else to mark your writing, you will build bad habits, reuse incorrect grammar and vocabulary, and fail to improve. A third-person perspective allows you to see your writing in a more objective light. Moreover, you will be able to notice bad patterns that keep arising, finding specifically where you can improve and what to do next. This creates a problem, however. Who is supposed to mark my writing? I don't have the money to pay for someone to mark all my essays, you say? Well, fear not. I have the solution, which is our bonus tip. Use AI feedback. No, I am not talking about ChatGPT, but a tool I have created just for IELTS students like yourself. It is called Nomad English, just like our YouTube channel. With this tool, you can get personalized feedback on all of your essays, band score predictions, and much more. Here is me explaining the tool in action and showing you all of the amazing features. So first off, we're gonna go through and open the writing section. Here we can create a new document which we can write into. For now, we're just gonna call it My Document. Now that the document is created, we need a question to write about. Luckily, Nomad English has a feature for us to just generate a question if we have no idea. Yes, I'm studying for an exam, and we'll generate an IELTS Task 2 question. Click Next and go Generate Topic. Once we've generated the topic, we can see it here and see if we like it. I like this one, so I'm gonna click Use this topic. It's gonna automatically add it to our question for us. Then we're gonna see a drop down here, and it's gonna automatically set the marking system to IELTS Task 2. If you want, you can add a timer, but for now, we're just gonna do without a timer. Then we'll click Begin Writing, and we can start writing our essay. Now that we've written our essay, we can get it marked by our personalized AI tutor.
2 hours later.
Now that our writing is marked, we've received a specific band score. Currently, it's 6.5, which is not too good. For now, let's view the comments that the tutor has written for our essay. As you can see, there is text highlighted in red. This means we've made an error or some kind of improvement can be made to this section. So if we click it, we have two options. For option 1, it recommends replacing the word think with something like believe or contend. It says this helps because believing or contend can be more formal than think. We also have another option which outlines something completely different. So let's just approve this one for now. As you noticed, it's removed the mark and has updated our sentence with the new one. We can go through all of these improvements one by one, but for now, let's look at the new green highlight. What this means is the AI has detected repetitive phrasing and vocabulary usage in your writing. This tells you what you can improve. So for example, instead of using the word pollution, we can say things like environmental contamination, pollutants, or waste. Next, let's view our overall feedback. Clicking the View Performance Report button, we get some awesome insights into our overall writing performance. If we look here, it shows us our overall mark and what we got for each metric. This shows us that we need to increase our lexical resource. We also get an overall review of our essay. As you can tell, it tells us our cohesion is generally good with appropriate use of linking phrases, though some like so are a bit informal for academic writing. And we can also see all of our errors in the writing. We can also see some vocabulary that we've used that was a little repetitive. So for example, we use big a lot. Maybe we could say large or significant instead, maybe even substantial or major. Special announcement! We have launched a Discord server for Nomad English. This is where you can find other like-minded students who want to improve their writing skills. Join now with the link in the description and introduce yourself. Thanks for watching until the end. As a bonus, you guys get to use the code NOMAD for 50% off at checkout for any plan for Nomad English. This only applies to the first 50 people, so get in fast. Of course, you can still use the product for free with limited usage forever.